Hang up the phone and dial 911. That's what she said to me. I said, but the hospital's less than a mile away. Can I just drive there? She said, hang up the phone and dial 911. What if you had a heart attack when you were driving to the hospital? I said, but can somebody just drive me to the hospital? She said, hang up the phone and dial 911. What if you had a heart attack when they were driving you? When the paramedics got there, they checked my blood pressure. And the first paramedic turned to the second one and he said, do you have another blood pressure cuff? So they dig another one out of the bag and they check my blood pressure again. And then they tried a third blood pressure cuff because they couldn't believe the number that they were saying. When the ambulance finally got there, they were just doing their third blood pressure cuff when the ambulance arrived. I walked to the ambulance, laid down on the stretcher, and the paramedic in the ambulance, he took my blood pressure, and he didn't believe it. And I said, yeah, the paramedics were having trouble with that too, and he tried another blood pressure cuff, and he looked at me and he said, I've never seen somebody still walking with blood pressure that high. It was a nurse from my cardiologist office who had prompted the 911 call. But I hadn't called the doctor's office because I thought I needed to go to the hospital. I was just 2 weeks out of the hospital after having had a heart attack. I called the cardiologist office because they had prescribed blood pressure medicine to me, and I'd never been on any kind of medicine before. And the blood pressure medicine they prescribed, it wasn't getting my blood pressure down. I was checking 3 times a day, and I take the pills, and my blood pressure just wouldn't come down to the level that, it wouldn't come down to a healthy level, let's just say. And so I called the cardiologist's office to say, hey, we need to fix my blood pressure medicine prescription. The nurse had asked me, well, do you have any other symptoms? And I said, no. And she says, well, what about chest pain? Do you have any chest pain? And I said, oh, well, okay. So yesterday I lifted something that was heavier than you told me I was allowed to lift. And so I did strain myself a little bit, and I am feeling just a little bit of chest pain, but I know that's going to go away because I've had that feeling before when I've lifted something that was too heavy and I strained myself. And so that's not a problem. And that's what prompted her to tell me I had to call 911, get in the ambulance, go to the hospital. It turns out that it wasn't another heart attack, but it was severe hypertension. The paramedic, so I walked to get into the ambulance, and I laid down on the stretcher, and before that, they had already tried 3 blood pressure cuffs to measure my blood pressure. And I laid down on the stretcher, and he tried a 4th blood pressure cuff. And then he shook his head, and he got a 5th one out. And they tried 5 different blood pressure cuffs to measure my blood pressure before he actually wrote it down in his book. And he looked at me and he said, I've never seen anybody still walking with blood pressure that high. And so 2020 hindsight, the nurse was right, and I really did need to go to the hospital. It wasn't a heart attack. It was, again, severe hypertension. But they kept me for 3 days for observation. They did another stress test. They checked everything out. They weren't sure if they were going to go back in and look in my heart or not, but we settled on the stress test, and I passed it with flying colors. When I was in the hospital, a funny thing happened, though. Because I had just been there 2 weeks before. I had lost 14 pounds in the 2 weeks that I was at home. And they sent a nutritionalist to talk to me because, well, losing weight that fast is sometimes telling you about a medical problem. And so the nutritionalist comes into the room and she says, I hear you lost a lot of weight recently. I said, yes, but it was on purpose. He says, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I changed my diet. I knew I needed to fix my weight in order to become healthy again. And so I changed my diet. I started following the diet plan that Dr. Stephen Gundry laid out in his book, Plant Paradox. There's foods you're allowed to eat. those foods you're not allowed to eat. Don't eat the foods you're not allowed to eat. Eat the foods you are allowed to eat. Eat a lot of vegetables. Eat a little bit of protein. Did I mention eat a lot of vegetables? And so I changed my diet to follow Dr. Gundry's diet plan, and I lost 14 pounds in roughly 14 days. That was a good thing. I started Bad Diet TV so that I could document my journey to get my weight under control, to get my health back under control. I want to get off those pills that they gave me at the hospital. I want to live a long and healthy life. I want to be able to spend time with my kids. I want to be able to spend time with their kids. And so I started this to document my journey, to try to, one, to give myself some accountability. If I'm talking about it every day and you're listening to me talk about it every day, then I can't not follow my plan. I can't not follow through. But also, as I've been on this journey, I've learned a lot, and I want to share the things that I've learned with other people who are looking for these kind of answers. I want to share books like Plant Paradox. I want to share other type things that I've learned, tips and tricks, so to speak. I want to help other people achieve their health and life goals. And so if you get some value out of this, great. I'm hoping that other people will benefit from my learning and from my knowledge. And so if you're getting some value out of this, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, click the little bell icon so you get notified when I put out new videos. If you're watching on Facebook, follow the Bad Diet TV Facebook channel. We'll put a new video up every day for at least a year. If you're listening on a podcast, like the podcast, follow us, come back again. If you want more information about me, about what's going on at Bad Diet TV, you can go to baddiet.tv. You can follow us there. We'll be having some challenges coming out. I'm going to be challenging myself. I'm going to be challenging you. And I will see you tomorrow.